all aspects of a poor person's life, they're constantly being hit, saying, hey, you're poor, you're not good enough. Hey, improve your condition. Hey, blah. And then my favorite example is when politicians try to use the rise of one poor person to categorize the downfall or to shame all the other people that were or are in their current in the current situation of being poor. So, for instance, if I tell you that, let's say I come from a poor community in Jamaica, and my neighbor turns out to be a top-shot lawyer, moves to Beverly Hills. Politicians would say, hey, if he can do it, you can do it. And that's one of that is one of the worst statements I've ever heard in my life. And statements like that get me angry. And whenever I'm talking to somebody and they say, hey, well, so-and-so did it, and so-and-so did it, so why everybody else can't do it? Again, everyone operates on different frequencies. What he might be able to do, the other person might not be able to do. The goal is to provide everyone with the material resources to achieve whatever it is they want or need to achieve. If you don't provide people with the resources, there's no way you can expect them to make good of nothing. And for those who make good of nothing, I applaud them, that's excellent. But that is not an ideal situation, right? The ideal situation is everyone has the same resources, or just about has the same resources to do the same things, to uplift themselves, which we don't have. So, again, being poor it's literally not a nice thing. To know that you want something to eat and you can't have it, that just denigrates the spirit. Your spirit is gone. You will literally blame everything except the people who need to be blamed, which is those in control of the economy and the country and the system that we have here in Jamaica and all over the world, which is capitalism. Living impoverished is not something that anyone should aspire to or glorify. Yes, you would love to acknowledge where you're coming from, right? And this is not to say that poor people aren't happy within their own circumstances, no. But I believe that everyone should have a life in which they don't worry about food on the table, and they're not worrying about getting an education, or just the basic necessities of life. When you're impoverished, all aspects of your life are basically starting from the bottom level of the social economic structure, right? Spiritually, you are deprived because your material reality isn't something that is encouraging, and your mental health takes a toll because the mind and the body are connected. Whatever affects your mental affects your physical. Whatever affects your physical affects your mental. So when you look on somebody and you tell them that, hey, you're poor and you need to come out of your poverty, and if you don't do this, then you're going to broke forever, or you're not no good or good. You say, come from me now, know where I go from here, so I better just wall right so with everybody else. So the constant linguistical confirmation that you are nothing and this is all that you are and this is all that you can be takes a toll on whoever the person is. Because believe it or not, words are power. And if you repeat something constantly, you become to internalize it without even you knowing. And in your everyday actions, you portray whatever you retain from whatever is out there. So for many poor people, when you tell them about, let's say, spirituality or anything to uplift their spirit that isn't material, they look at you funny. Because they're like, how can you want to improve my life without giving me something material? And that just dilutes all the other aspects of the life. So all you focused on is just getting money or getting material things, and you reject all other aspects of your life. So that's one toll it takes on your mental. Physically, it's either you become overweight or you become extremely skinny. Because as we know, the food system is made to keep people unhealthy. The cheapest foods or the most enjoyable foods are always the one where you can buy with like $500, where it's literally going to make you sick. So it's designed that way, by the way. It's not by accident. They don't do this stuff by accident. Nothing in this world, or most things in this world, are just characterized by people who put stuff into place that maintains their power, and food and other aspects are one of them. So when you go to the corner shop and you buy 50 cheeseburgers for $1,000, and 20 years down the line you find out you have cancer. You were poor in the beginning, so you don't have any money to pay your medical costs. So it's either you live with the cancer or you borrow money, which leads to further impoverishment. So if you are poor, your physical and your mental, just everything is just impoverished. Like, just as the term states, you yourself holistically are impoverished. And the effect it has, I believe, is not studied enough. Because when you look at violence and stuff like that, crime, if you look at criminology, which I believe is just a study of the black man, because when you break it down, you realize what they use to study, or the microscope that they look through, is always poor. Because be real, who is more likely to commit a crime, a poor person or a millionaire? Although we know millionaires commit crimes a lot, but the likelihood of him doing a crime versus a poor person is kind of drastically different. So when you even look at crime and criminology, you see where people commit crimes out of necessity. It's not because people are just born bad or they're just born evil. Your material conditions shape who you are as a person, right? And if you're born poor and you see a man on a hill with 50 loaves of bread or 100 loaves of bread, and you don't have any, and majority of the people around you are living with you don't have any, within yourself you will feel it okay to say, well, I am going to rob that rich man on the hill. I'm not saying that it is right, but there's a thin line between what's right and wrong for poor people and what's right and wrong for rich people, right? Because you have white collar crime where they steal billions of dollars and get a slap on the wrist and get sent to a hush puppy prison, right? So let's say he steals the bread, right? We all know that the state apparatus is controlled by the ruling class. So let's say he steals that. The laws themselves are written by the aristocracy or the privileged, and crimes are viewed through their lens versus that of the poor people. So when he steals the bread and gets arrested by the police, he doesn't have a lawyer, he's poor. If he gets a lawyer, the lawyer probably won't even know his name. The judge has judges have their preconceived notions of whatever crime is committed just by looking at the person. So there's bias throughout all levels of the system towards poor people. So he gets, let's say, 20 years in prison. He goes to prison. There is no reform, there's no any sort of push to uplift him or to make him a productive citizen within the society. So after he does those 30 years, he actually gets worse. He goes back and he probably commits more heinous crimes, then he gets sentenced again, and the cycle is just repeated and repeated and repeated.
Well, let me hear you say mountain, mountain.